The Titans pull out an overtime win over the New England Patriots to go to 2-6 on the season. Was this a good win for the team, or is this bad in the long run? We are going to talk about it. No, we're not rooting for the team to lose. Please listen to the podcast. This is the Music City Audible. Let's get to it. Oh, welcome everyone to another episode of the Music City Audible podcast presented by Broadway Sports Media in partnership with 440 Sports. I'm Justin Graver. With me, as always, Justin Melo. And Justin, for the second time this season, we are recapping a Titans victory. What's up, my friend?
Doing good. That was an interesting game.
Very.
Parts of it I thought were fun, parts of it not so much. I got a crazy gambling story I got to tell about this one. I'm not a big gambler at all, but that was a roller coaster for me. You let me know when you want me to get into that one.
Yeah, we can come back to that for sure. Let's start with the basics here. Titans win 20-17 in overtime. It's a game-winning field goal for Nick Folk that the Patriots had a chance to come down and either tie it or go ahead and win the game with like 3 minutes left in overtime. Drake May looking deep down the field, picked off by Amani Hooker. His second interception of the day ends the game, seals the win for the Titans. And like I teased at the top, this may be bad for the team in the long run, but right now, as Titans fans, I think it's absolutely okay to soak in this win. It might be the last one of the season, looking at the schedule. There are some other winnable games. Jacksonville Jaguars look really bad right now and things of that nature. But then you look at the backdrop of the, what the NFL draft order is right now. It's week 9, so there's a lot of time left in the season for things to happen. But the Carolina Panthers won today, beat the New Orleans Saints. Titans would have held the number 1 pick in the draft had they lost today. Instead, that goes to New England with the number 1 pick. So we'll get into all that, but let's talk about the game. Mason Rudolph starts again. A little bit of a surprise late in the week when Will Levis practiced all week. It seemed like he was on track to make his return, but then late in the week, Friday, it started to feel like maybe he's not going to return. And then Saturday, they elevate Trevor Siemian as a backup quarterback off the practice squad. And you're like, well, writing's on the wall. Then late Saturday night, the reports come out that Will Levis indeed will miss the game and Mason Rudolph will start again. Rudolph was okay in this one. I think this might have been his best game yet as a Titan. Protected the ball pretty well. Did throw 1 interception, another goal line interception for the Titans. That was deflected, so not necessarily his fault. Not his fault.
Oh, it was too high.
Not his fault, but sometimes those balls hit the ground and nothing happens. Sometimes the defense picks them off, and in this case, the Titans continue their streak of throwing an interception in every single game this year. But overall, I thought Rudolph did a nice job leading the offense through 2 touchdown passes, one to Nick Vanette on the opening drive. Titans opening drive success continues. The scripted play portion of the game continues, but by now, week 9, that it's all downhill from there, right? But no, the Titans put a few good drives together in this game, ended up winning 20-17. Any high-level takeaways about this team, Justin? I mean, the playoffs are an extreme long shot. You basically have to win out, or maybe you can afford 1 loss the rest of the way if you even want to make the playoffs. Maybe 2 if you're talking about sneaking in for the 7 seed if at 9-7 or 9-8. I mean, but overall high level takeaways for this team. I mean, it's hard to gain anything. They lose Lloyd Cushenberry midway through the game, and Corey Levin is snapping the ball 12 feet high every single snap. It feels like Mason Rudolph's having to jump for every snap. Daniel Brunskill started at right guard. Interesting. Leroy Watson at right tackle. Obviously, L'Jarius Sneed didn't play. Yeah, Jeffrey Simmons coming on and off the field, working through some lower leg injury of some kind. Quandre Diggs, injured in the first half, did not return with a foot injury. So I don't know what to take from this game looking ahead to the rest of the season, but maybe sometimes when you're a really bad team like the Titans are, it's nice to just bask in a win every once in a while.
For sure. And I imagine this meant the loss of Brian Callahan and those players who have been fighting hard every single week. And high-level takeaways, I don't know about high-level. A couple things. I did think that first drive was really good. No surprise, but the first play of the game, Rudolph does a great job going through his progressions. I think Ridley was the first read. He comes back all the way around the other side of the field, and he hits Nick Westbrook-Akine. It was a high-low concept. Mm-hmm. He hits NWI. Again, decisive, going through progressions, quick trigger. And then the run was outstanding by Mason Rudolph to pick up the first down on a 2nd and long or 3rd and long.
Yeah.
Directs Tony Pollard to the block.
Yeah.
Picks up the, just gets to the chain there. And then the well-designed play on the touchdown to Nick Vanette as well to cap off that drive. So typical of Brian Callahan. Things are well drawn up. Guys are open. We don't have a problem with the scheme. Same thing we've really been saying all year long. On the interception, I'm not quite as forgiving as you. I know you said some of those hit the ground. I thought it was his fault. Certainly, it's way too high, and I'm not shocked they got picked off. But and don't blame Chig either, right? Like instinct, you're going for that ball. You think it's going to be in your belly, in your chest, whatever. It's super high. Naturally, you're going to go for it. The two negatives I will say about this game is I think they probably lost a ton of guys. The Cushenberry thing, Quandre Diggs, both of them were ruled out pretty quickly. So that's a bit of a concern. Jeffrey Simmons, hats off to him, man. Look, very clearly, he's been hurt almost all year, and I thought it looked fairly serious in this one. And he just, on and off, playing through pain, had to come off again, came back on. People have been complaining he's not playing hard enough, or not hard, sorry, not playing well enough, I should say. People complain he's not playing well enough. Name floated in trade rumors. Half of Titans Twitter wants to trade him, all that stuff. This team is 1-6. Would have been very easy for him to just kind of come off and stay off, but that's not his MO. He's a tough, hard-nosed football player. He wants to be out there when he can be. So credit to him. The other when I said negative takeaways there, it's that they probably lost a ton of important players down the stretch here. Maybe even Simmons. I think once that swelling comes up and you get it, and the adrenaline wears off, maybe that's going to be something that takes a week or two to heal. My other negative takeaway, and I feel bad saying this, but didn't this feel like a preseason game to you at times? Like, I think it's, both teams are not very good. It's not just that, but then I'm looking on the field and I see, Daniel Brunskill at right guard. I see Corey Levin at center. I see Darrell Baker Jr. and Jarvis Brownlee starting at corner. I see most of the reps at safety going to Mike Brown there. Like, it kind of felt like a preseason game. Of course, Mason Rudolph, but other than that, I am, good for them. Good for them that they won. Good for Brian Callahan. I'm not here sulking over this victory.
Yeah, and I want to give a special shout out to Tony Pollard, who really put the team on his back. It was funny because early in the week, I can't remember if it was Callahan or Nick Holtz, but somebody was talking about how they need a second running back and they can't just, put too much of a workload on Tony Pollard. And then Tony Pollard comes out of this game with 28 carries and 3 targets in the passing game, which he caught all 3 of for 26 yards, 128 rushing yards, 4.6 yards per carry. Julius Chestnut did spell him at times, ended up with 5 carries for 22 yards, including a really nice play on what was like an interesting concept design on that third and goal from way backed up where he hurdled over a guy, almost got down to the goal line, gets down to, I think, the 3-yard line. And the Titans kicked the field goal there to make it 10-10. We're going to stick a pin in that. We're going to talk about that decision in a second. But Tony Pollard, just the workhorse back that he is, and Jason Benetti, who was calling this game, said it. He must have said it 10 times. How much of Tony Pollard's rushing yards, what percent of his rushing yards have come after contact this season? Mentioned that he's been leading the league, leading the NFL in rushing yards or percentage of his yards that come after contact this season. And you saw it over and over again, just fighting for extra yards, making the right cut, making the right read in the run game, making a guy miss in the backfield, doing whatever he could do to get positive yards. And I think Titans fans are pretty lucky that Tony Pollard is on this team. Now, sometimes it's hard when you look across the way and you see Derrick Henry in Baltimore, already over 1,000 yards on the season, now has his 7th consecutive season with 10-plus rushing touchdowns, only 3 players in NFL history to do that. 5th fastest player in NFL history to get to 100 career touchdowns. He's now at 101 after scoring 2. Today, he scored a touchdown in every single game this season. He's been everything that Baltimore hoped for and more, and it's kind of funny looking at could the Titans have used a player like that? Yeah, probably. Could every team that was signing a running back this offseason, like the Cowboys who didn't sign anybody, have used a running back like that? Yeah, probably. But Tony Pollard has been the next best thing. I mean, Tony Pollard has been awesome for the Titans, despite the offense being so bad so many times. Tony Pollard has been absolutely great, and I just wanted to shout him out for another huge day. I mean, 28 carries for a guy you said we can't give too heavy of a workload to because he's going to get hurt, and then you come out and give him 31 total touches in this game.
It's questionable in this game, right?
Questionable to play, yeah.
Game time decision.
Right. So great game from Tony Pollard, and the Titans really committed to just running the ball. They did finish with 33 pass attempts, but 39 rush attempts in this one. So a very balanced attack. I thought Brian Callahan called a pretty good game. If you don't turn it over on that one drive deep in the red zone, you probably finish with more points and the score looks a little bit better. But I thought overall, this is a bad Patriots team, so grain of salt with everything, but I thought Callahan called a good game, a balanced game. Pollard was great, and Rudolph did enough to obviously get the team to a victory.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, he was outstanding. The Titans don't have a Derrick Henry problem, right? I think this team is probably just as bad.
Right.
In all
I
honesty,
agree with that.
Derrick
Yeah.
Henry on the team, so they don't have a Henry problem. I don't have a ton to add to that. I want to get to the what you said, stick a pin in it.
Yeah,
but
let's do it.
Brian Callahan called a pretty cowardly game, didn't he? Like let's be honest. I thought when Julius Chestnut picked up all those yards, what was it? It was like 3rd and goal from the 18.
Yeah.
And I want to say he picked up like 16, 15 at worst. Like that ends up being 4th and goal from the 2 or the 3, I think, give or take. Maybe the 4, because it's a 21-yard field goal, I think, now, if memory serves me correctly. But he's checking, ladies and gentlemen. Graver
4th and goal from the 3. It was 3rd and goal from the 15.
Okay, so he picked up 12 yards on that play. I'd like to think you're running that play saying, you know what, if we catch him off guard and he gets a ton of yards, we're going on 4th.
I agree.
But the reality is we're running that play to wave the white flag and just take the field goal. No matter how many yards he gets here, if he doesn't get into the end zone, we're kicking the field goal. And I think there's something pretty cowardly about that. And the second decision that I thought was incredibly cowardly is at the end of the 4th quarter, right? When you've got the lead with the Patriots got 2 timeouts. Yeah. You get to like a 3rd and 8 there. I get you run the ball on 1st and 2nd down. I totally get that. Make them burn those timeouts. But there's the 2-minute warning coming up. You know the clock's going to stop again. I think you pass it there and go for the win. But no, he runs it again, takes it to the 2-minute warning, and happily punts. Yeah. And the Patriots come down. I thought the Patriots were going to go for a 2-point conversion.
I did too.
I mean, there's a lot of cowardly coaching in this game.
But wait, let's come back to that because I want to talk about both of those decisions because I actually agree with Callahan's decisions on both fronts, which normally I am team be aggressive. But we have seen time and time again this Titans team fail to convert in major leverage moments like those. Yeah. And you got backups. I don't remember if Levin was in by that. I think Levin was in by that point. So you got 3 basically, right tackle. They're all backups.
Everyone's a backup.
They're all backups. They're all starters, whatever.
Everyone's a CFL player.
But you essentially have 3 backups on your offensive line. You've been having snap issues since Levin came into the game. You were in a similar situation last week against the Lions on a 4th and goal from the 1 that you failed to convert. Your defense has been pretty dang good all day. Yeah, the Patriots, I think, had 10. It was 10-7 at that point. So the Patriots had scored 10 points, but your defense had been pretty good, getting after the quarterback, forced a turnover already, forced 2. That was forced 1 turnover by that point because then they strip sacked on the next drive, I think. Yeah. Or 2 drives later, something like that. But anyway, defense playing pretty good. You're this deep in the territory, in Patriots territory. You've been this deep once already and turned it over. You're down by a field goal. Like, worst case, if you go for it and don't get it, you're still losing. You kick the field goal, you might as well tie the game. And if the Patriots go on to score a touchdown on the next drive, at least you have a chance to go tie it again. I actually like that call given all the circumstances. Now, the analytics models had it as a heavy go for it scenario where the win probability, it was over 4 percentage points better increase to go for it there as opposed to kicking it. But I just think when you take all those factors into consideration, all the backup quarterback too, even if he's been better than the starter, so many backups in the game. I don't hate that decision to just take the points. And then, do you want to respond?
How do you feel about the decision at the end of the game to run again on 3rd and long?
Similar thing. I said I agree with both decisions. Now, that one to me is a bit more of a toss-up. But again, Mason Rudolph has been not great. He threw an interception in this game. He's thrown an interception.
He had his best game.
He did have his best game, and he was in the middle of his best game. But imagine if you throw a pass there and it gets intercepted and the Patriots have the ball at the 30-yard line or something like that. And it's not like... I don't personally trust Mason Rudolph that much. We've seen him make questionable decisions. Yes, he's been better than Will Levis, but that doesn't mean he's been good. And again, your defense has held them to 10 points. I don't know what the yards per play was at that moment, and it's kind of looking at where they ended with. It's kind of hard because they drove all the way down the field there at the end of the game on very few plays, but they did end up with they only ended up with 295 total yards and 4.5 yards per play. Titans, second straight game over 400 yards of offense. Granted, they needed overtime to do that. 5.5 yards per play. So you're being way more productive than the other team through this point in the game. And so the 4.5 yards per play, 295 total yards that they ended the game with, only 10 points at that point. They are 3 of 11 finished the game 3 of 11 on 3rd down. At that point in the game, all those numbers were even worse. So I get it. It's now the only thing I have an issue with is the potential special teams problems because if you run it and don't get it, then you got to kick the ball and you've been terrible on special teams. And that's the last thing I want to talk about when we're done with this convo is again, special teams disasters in this game. But Yeah, I don't hate that. Like that one to me is more of a toss-up. I think the field goal was the right call versus going for it on that 4th and goal. I think this one is more of a toss-up. I totally get it if you think they should have passed the ball. I'm always team be aggressive, but again, so many backups, so many things can go wrong. If you run the ball, you can fumble, so things can go wrong there too. Like things can go wrong on both sides, but I don't hate that decision to just be conservative and trust your defense that have been playing well against a rookie quarterback.
The only thing I'll add is I guess I wish I knew if he was a coward or just knows that he's coaching a bad football team, right? Like we don't really know which one it is, in my opinion. So
that's fair.
TBD, right? When they've got better quarterback play, better. And it's not going to come till next year, I guess. But put a pin in this until next year, and we'll learn more about how he feels about the whole analytics aggression model, yada yada.
Yeah. All right. Special teams disasters again. They allow a 40-something yard return early in the game on their first punt return. I think it was the first punt return. Jaquan Jackson runs into his own blocker and falls down and can't even field.
They started the game with a special teams penalty
by the newly signed special teams ace Justin. What's his name?
Hardy. Justin who's made a Pro Bowl apparently. He's a special team.
Yeah.
Legal formation. You don't see that one all the time either.
Lined up wrong on the kickoff. And then you have, Jaquan Jackson calls for a fair catch on, I think it was the first punt return of the game, and can't even get to the ball because he runs into his own blocker. You allow a 40-plus yard punt return later in the game. And then you have Jaquan Jackson on what's like the final drive of the game, fumbles the punt, and potential disaster there, but he's able to recover it. I mean, holy shit, man. Are we done with Colt Anderson or what?
I feel like I'm beating a dead horse.
Me too.
Right? Like they're awful on special teams. They probably avoided enough disaster today to keep his job. I don't think they're firing him in season anyway. Barring another Callahan might feel the pressure if they have another 2-punt block game or 400 return yards. He might feel some pressure then. But if it just stays horribly bad and not historically embarrassingly bad, I think he's probably going to keep him at least till the end of the year.
And, you're playing against a 2-6, now 2-7 Patriots team where that doesn't come back to bite you as much as it could have. Like the last couple games against the Bills and the Lions, or even going forward against, games against the Texans, Colts, Jags, Bengals, Chargers, those things might hurt you more against better teams than they did in this one. All right, Justin, we got to hit I'll Drink to That. Brought to you by Sinkers Beverages in East Nashville, and I'll drink to the Titans getting a win in what could be their last win of the season. Maybe they'll eke out one more here. If Will Levis comes back and actually plays up to his potential, maybe they'll win more, but I don't expect that to happen because it's not what we've seen at all this year. But I'll drink to a win. I'll drink to, like I said, a second consecutive 400-yard of offense game for this Titans team. Is the offense turning a quarter? You get backups playing across the offensive line. They only allow 1 sack. On the other side, they sack Drake May 4 times. All the things that we talked about, I think, earlier in the week sort of came to fruition in this game, where the offensive line is continuing to play better. The offense is continuing to be more productive. They win a game. So I don't know. I don't have a lot of complaints except for where we're going to go last with this conversation, which is the draft order.
Yeah, I'm going to drink to 2 things, if that's okay. And both of them are personal developments for me.
Yeah, let's tell your gambling story.
But yeah, the first one's the gambling story, because I'm not a big gambler at all. But I'm going to drink to Drake May, Ramondre Stevenson, and a couple other guys, because I'm not a big gambler at all. I do very little gambling. I put a $5 bet today. That's how big of a gambler I am, on a same game parlay that had a Ramondre Stevenson anytime touchdown,
nice,
a Nick Westbrook-Akine anytime touchdown,
wow,
under 44 total points,
woo,
and 4 catches for Calvin Ridley.
He had 5.
Now, okay, when did 2 of them occur?
Calvin Ridley. Oh, wow. Calvin Ridley had 2 big catches on the overtime.
That Nick Westbrook-Akine TD happened late.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, God, I probably have no chance. But I got a little excited. The Patriots go down. They score that touchdown on 4th and goal. I was sweating. I'm not going to lie, right? That was a huge win, but it was big enough to get me excited. I go, God damn it, they're going to go for 2, aren't they, these bastards? They kicked the field goal. I got so excited. The extra point. Titans win the toss. I go, oh, my God, I need 1 Calvin Ridley catch. It's a $250 win.
Wow.
Again, the fact that I hit the anytime TDs on NWI and Stevenson, they tie the game, send it to overtime. It stays under, even if Titans score a touchdown in overtime.
Yeah.
Titans get the ball first, thank God. I get the Ridley catch. I was the first play, I think, in overtime, the Ridley catch. I might have jumped up in celebration. It was a $250 win that looked like an extremely likely loss with 4 seconds left in the fourth quarter.
That's
so
crazy.
It usually goes the other way when you're gambling, but
Yeah.
that was a fun one. And then the other thing I'm going to say is I tweeted it out yesterday, but I am excited about it. So I got to go to a local bookstore here in Toronto yesterday that I used to work at, many, many years ago when I wasn't sure that I would find a full-time career in writing. And I used to work there to kind of, it was just, again, a long time ago, but I wasn't sure where my life was going. And it was pretty cool to see them shelve Titans of the South at the bookstore there. I actually, before it came out, I got a text message from the manager who's still there, who was, my manager back in the day. And she remembered that I loved the Titans. And she goes, I just saw this on my list of new releases. This is you, isn't it? And I go, I didn't write a book. And she goes, oh my God, we are ordering a bunch of copies. I cannot believe you didn't tell me that you wrote As soon as she saw Titans, she goes, I remember that son of a bitch. He was obsessed with that football team. It's all he talked about when he worked here. So it was pretty cool to go in person there. I signed every copy that they had and sold a couple already, which stunned me because I don't think there's a lot of Titans fans walking into that bookstore. But I guess a couple of guys saw it on Twitter, yada, yada. People started walking in to get it. And I won't lie, that was a cool moment for me to kind of, work there when you weren't quite sure where life was going. And to see your book now shelved there certainly felt like a full circle moment.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Congrats on that. That's a very cool thing to drink to. I support you drinking to multiple things, especially during our I'll Drink to That segment. I'll Drink to That brought to you by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville, serving the community since 1985. Their knowledgeable staff is proud to help you with large parties, themed events, or finding something unique for a special occasion. From birthday parties to milestone celebrations to everyday moments, Sinkers can help with the right drink for every occasion. And if you head to sinkersbeverages.com website or check the link in this podcast description, you can join the In-Crowd. In-Crowd members get access to allocated wines and spirits, exclusive events, early access to barrel releases, and more. All right, Justin, final topic before we sign off here. The Titans are currently slated to pick 9th in the 2025 NFL Draft. This is midway through Sunday. The afternoon games are happening as we speak right now as we record this, so lots can change. There's a lot of time left in the year. We're halfway through, officially through the season now, with the Titans having played 8 games, but 9 weeks through of an 18-week season. So the Patriots at 2-7 hold the number 1 pick in the draft. Saints 2-7, number 2. Panthers 2-7 have fallen to the 3rd pick in the draft with their win over the Saints today. Browns 2-7 with the 4th pick. Raiders 2-7 with the 5th pick. Giants 2-7 with the 6th pick. Miami and Jacksonville 2-6 with the 7th and 8th picks. And then Tennessee, the last of the 2-win teams to currently pick in the draft at 2-6. Now, some of this order is because the Titans have had their bye, whereas the top 6 teams right now in the draft order have not had their bye yet. So if they were all 2-7, I don't know how the draft order, how the tiebreakers would shake out, but the Titans likely would not be 9th in that if that was the case. So not really much use in looking at the draft order right now. I think is where I want to end this podcast because we got to wait for all these other teams to catch up and for the Titans to catch up and for them all to have played the same number of games before we can really get a good gauge on where they are in the order.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. I'll end with this. If you're frustrated that they could be at number 1 and they're at number 9 right now, I get that. I do. And, you and I talk about this a lot. We get some negative comments. I'm not changing my tune or anything, but I'm going to choose to not care now because I'll tell you why. Today is a prime example of how much can change in one afternoon. There's absolutely no reason to stress over the draft order right now. Titans could have been number 1. They're at number 9. Next week, we'll probably see another big development for some other, like the Panthers won today. No one really saw that coming. I know the Saints are bad, but they got Derek Carr back.
I mentioned it multiple times on our last few pods.
You did. It's proof you never know what's going to happen. Okay, so I'm going to choose not to worry about it. I'll make a prediction. Titans pick earlier than 9. I don't think they're going to pick as late as 9. I think they'll probably pick somewhere between 3 and 7, if I'm going to guess.
Yep.
Or 2 and 7, whatever. But I'm not going to worry about it for now. Like, again, if you're a little frustrated, I can get that. I mean, damn, number 1 to 9. By the time you listen to this, it might be 6, 7, or 8 once these afternoon games conclude. But that's not going to be number 1, which it would have been if they lost. So I get it if you're a little ticked about that, if you're one of those lose every game draft guys. But prime example today of how quickly things change, how much football there is left to play. no reason in worrying about it right now. Just sit back and enjoy the win.
Yeah, and also the Jags are down 10-0 right now, and if they lose, the Titans will go to 8 and the Jags will go to 9. So there you go. It could change in as soon as the next couple hours when this podcast, you might not even listen to it yet by the time it changes. So caveat there. And the last thing I'll say on that point, Justin, is like, yeah, it'd be nice to have the number 1 pick, but you know who thought it would be nice to have the number 1 pick? The Panthers, when they drafted Bryce Young over CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
You know who thought it'd be nice to have the number 1 pick? The Jags, who drafted Trayvon Walker over Aiden Hutchinson. Like the Houston Texans converting a 4th and 20 the year before the CJ Stroud Bryce Young draft and winning that game and losing the number 1 pick to get the number 2 pick instead. Huge benefit to their franchise, unless they were so sold on Stroud that they would have taken him over Bryce Young, which consensus at the time was that Bryce Young was the best number 1 option pick in that draft. So you never know, number 1, how the draft order is going to actually end up shaking out by week 18. And you never know if the guy you pick at 1 is going to actually be better than the guy you pick at 2, or if the guy you pick at 9 is actually the best player in the draft. So there's a lot of reason not to fret over where they are in the draft. And that doesn't mean we can't start looking ahead to potential prospects that we like for the Titans, which is what we're going to start doing for the second half of this season. But because even with a win today, they're still very far out of the playoff race. But yes, from the standpoint of like, does it suck they don't have the number 1 pick right now? Like, number 1, having the number 1 pick right now after week 9 doesn't mean anything. And number 2, all the other reasons that we just stated. So there you go. Titans get a win, 20-17 over the New England Patriots. Thanks to everyone for tuning in to this podcast. We appreciate you all if you're listening, but we appreciate you more if you're watching on YouTube. So head over to the YouTube channel, the Music City Audible podcast, subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, like, turn on alerts to get a notification every time we drop a new video, and drop a comment below. Are you happy the Titans won? Are you kind of bummed but kind of happy? Or are you indifferent? Like, where are you at with the Titans victory? Like, sometimes it's nice to celebrate a win. Sometimes it's good for a rookie head coach who's struggled throughout the year to win, especially these close games that they had lost so many of already, to just get a win for the locker room so that he can look at his guys in the eyes and say, look, if we put in the work and we play Titans football and we do what I say we should do, sometimes it does work. So just trust the process and trust me, and then we'll see if that develops and leads to anything down the road. All right, any final thoughts, Justin, or should I sign it off? You can sign it off if you have nothing else. Go for it.
No, that does it. You guys stay safe out there, and
no, we won. We're tightening up, Justin.
Oh, okay, my bad. I thought you were playing the tighten down. I have the dramatic pause. So you guys stay safe out there and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.